I'm Alice McCabe, Dennis Eagle's Learning and Development Officer, and a very warm welcome to our new series at Learning at Work Festival. In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at our operations team, a group of dedicated professionals who are essential to the production and manufacturing of our vehicles. We'll explore how they work together to ensure that customer service is prioritised throughout every stage of our vehicle build process. So on the panel with me today, we have Terry New, our Operations Director, Oliver Minette, Plant Manager, Duncan Kirtland, our Quality Compliance Manager. To the other side of me here, we have Tony Bates, Manufacturing Manager, Mark Richardson, Operations Manager, and Graham Hayden, Planning and Data Science Manager. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Terry, as head of the operations team here at Dennis Eagle, could you just describe to me your role and also how your team contributes to the overall function?
So my name's Terry New. I've been with Dennis Eagle for 22 years. Started back in 2002 as a senior production engineer and worked up through the ranks over many years, and I was lucky to join the board last year. So last year we created this team. So this is the ops team. You've got Graham, who's responsible for planning and data science. Data science is one of the sexy subjects in the department. Mark is our operations manager, and he's responsible for many areas of the business, but that includes facilities, production engineering, quality team. We've created a new QMS quality team, a new quality structure that Mark's heading. Tony, he's been with the company a long time. He started as a fabricator, so he's worked through the ranks, and he's now our manufacturing manager. Been in the role nearly 2 years, Tony? The new run 1 year. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Ollie, he's our plant manager for the Blackpool plant, so he's responsible for the cabs and all production related and operations related functions related to the site in Blackpool. And Duncan's been with us 57 years. 37 years I think it is, and he's our quality compliance manager, so he's responsible for, amongst other things, he's responsible for ensuring that when we deliver a product to the customer that the quality is as good as we can possibly get it.
Great, and I think that's, it's really interesting to understand all the different various aspects of stuff that go into the whole team as a function and understand how that works. So we're going to have a bit of a discussion between all of you today, and I wanted you to talk to us a little bit about the customer service and how it's factored into every single vehicle build. From your perspective, what would you say is most important to ensuring customers receive the best service?
I'd like to talk about some of the challenges that we've had in recent times. I've been in manufacturing since I was 16, left school at 16, straight into work. So that was 20 years ago. So many years ago. And manufacturing is always a challenging environment. There's lots of easier careers, dare I say. Manufacturing I've always found to be extremely challenging. And the main reason it's challenging is lots of external influences that come to manufacturing. Our destiny is not always in our own hands from a production point of view. So if you look at recent years with Brexit, we had to do a lot. We had to change a lot. We had to change our logistics strategy, our inventory strategy. We had we carried a lot of stock just in case we had interrupted supply. There was a lot of false dawns. So Brexit was going to happen, then it didn't, then it did, then it didn't. So we were buying more inventory, then we were reducing it, then we were buying it again and reducing it, and that was a big upheaval for the business. And just as we get through that, COVID hits. Yeah. So we only closed the factory for 5 weeks. Most of the team here worked that whole 5 weeks preparing for coming back to work. So all the measures that we had to put in place. That was very challenging. A lot of people off with COVID. We still had customer orders. The customers were still extremely important to us. So they worked with us tremendously. So they were very patient in terms of deliveries. But of course, it wasn't just Dennis Eagle that was being affected by COVID. All our suppliers was being affected as well. So the whole supply chain. And then we get through that, and Russia decides to invade Ukraine. So then our engines are made in India. Our Volvo engines are made in India, and they get delivered by boat, by ship, and they were held in the sea somewhere off the coast of Africa. So that meant that we were staring down the barrel of no engines for several weeks, and the shipping company then decided to sail around the Cape, the Hope of, no, the Cape of Hope, Good Hope, around South Africa, which delayed the delivery by a couple of weeks, but at least it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. We've had major supply issues with some key suppliers, so that's affected Blackpool, it's affected Warwick, and it just seems to be relentless at the moment. And then we had, without much notice, we had the issue with compliance, bin lift compliance. So that meant that we couldn't deliver trucks that we'd built for several weeks. On some, there's still some that we can't deliver at the moment. So that's been going on for several months. So overall, what we're focused on is keeping the customers happy during this period of time. But it is a challenge.
Yeah. And I think it's great that you've brought that up, and I think it's really important that customers do understand sort of what's going on with us as a business, and how that affects obviously that beginning to end journey of them receiving a vehicle as well. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to that from your perspective? Obviously there's all different parts, different bits that go on in sort of under Terry, I guess, in all your different departments.
Well, I think one area that we should probably mention is our software system that drives all the manufacturing instruction and issues control. So PMS, we call it, it's the production management system. We've got a touchscreen monitor in every footprint of the site, the footprints being the build stations. And in every one of those, there's the ability to raise issues, to see the issues on every vehicle. That follows it through the entire production process, and it helps Duncan when it gets to the PDI check to see what issues are outstanding, ensure they're solved. And in the system set up as well that we can't deliver a truck until all those issues are cleared. So it really is our go-to system for all the issues management to make sure we do get that quality product out to the customer.
Sort of linked onto that, obviously, from the Blackpool perspective, from the cab, which is kind of at the start of the build of the vehicle for the customer. We have various customers, from Warwick being our first customer who's going to receive the cab ready for fitting onto the chassis. We also have the aftermarket customer when we're sending out to vehicles already in the road. And then we have the US market where we're shipping the cabs over to there. So we treat each of the other departments as our customer. So we PDI the bit, we PDI the cab, we do all the quality checks on the cab as if it was going to go to the end user. So when it arrives with Warwick, with Tony and the manufacturing team for chassis and body, then they know they've got a good quality component to then fit into the chassis for that production process.
Yeah, and again, sort of following on from what we said before, like Terry says, there's been a lot of challenges, and we do recognise that we have got some things to overcome. But I think the attitude and the culture from the top to the bottom seems to be really driving towards trying to improve ourselves, to communicate better between the different areas, and to just improve our systems, again, to help the customers, of course.
Yeah, we've put a lot of events on. So I mean, I've been with the business just over a year, and we've had 3 or 4 key events where the senior team and other important areas of the business all get together and talk about how we can improve quality, how we can improve the customer experience, but also the processes and procedures that we follow. And that's been huge. It's been a game changer for us. We then go away and we're sort of given the autonomy to grow and to develop those areas, and then feed back, say 6 months later at another review meeting, which for me is great. And I've seen it in certain levels in other businesses, but at Dennis Eagle we seem to do it very well, and part of obviously the Turbo group as well getting involved. I think important to say from the customer experience, the key sheet we get is like the recipe book for what that vehicle is going to look like, and we allow changes all the way through the build of that vehicle, which is quite unique in the industry. We'll build the cab, and that cab could be down at Warwick being built onto a chassis, and there might be a need to change something on that cab or the chassis or the body, and we will, wherever possible, look to make that change. If it's safety critical, it goes without saying, but if it's something that customers forgot to add on or something that we feel improves the overall build, then we'll look to fit that in during the process. So, and that is unique compared to some of the other vehicle builds in the world.
And I think as well, as one of our values around being customer focused, you can really see that sort of driving through the culture of the business and everybody that works there, sort of through all the different departments in terms of following that through from beginning to end as well.
I think there's a good example we can give as well, the investment we'll put into customer focus. So one of our bigger customers requested that we were very precise about the height of the vehicles, which we were able to give a good estimate, but not as precise as they like. So we invested quite heavily in some light gates and automated the communication to the customer through that. So that's the sort of investment we're willing to put in purely for customer value.
And from a production perspective, obviously, in Warwick, we're always looking to try and upskill and develop our staff internally, and also creating a can-do culture, if you like.
Yeah.
This gives us obviously flexibility within the operations, but it also empowers the staff to deliver a best-in-class product.
Yeah.
On to Mark's point around investment, obviously plant machinery is essential to the operation. So, being able to invest heavily in tooling and plant and machinery obviously gives us a better opportunity to deliver a quality product.
Yeah.
One hot topic that we focus on as a company is meeting on a regular basis to review feedback from customers and to review feedback from the service team. We certainly do that. We have individual meetings for the US market, individual meetings for the Australian market, and then obviously for UK, where we get together. It gives an opportunity for the sales team, for the service team to be able to feedback some of the issues they're seeing out on the field, and wherever possible, we'll look to see how we can improve what we're doing. Is it something we can change? If it's not, then there'll be that feedback communication, and that's been huge. And we've got the guys coming over from the US at the end of the month, and they're going to come visit Blackpool. They're going to come visit Warwick, and they're going to see all the changes that they saw, all the improvements that we've made since the last time they came.
Yes, they can see what.
And it's all about working together. I always say, when I joined the Blackpool site, there's 200 miles between us and Warwick, but we're all building the one vehicle. So it doesn't matter about that. We need to make sure the process flow of that vehicle build is smooth from start to finish.
Yeah, I think just expanding on that, I think the communication between the whole group is very good, particularly in recent years. Even outside of Dennis Eagle, the wider group, we've got close communications with other sites. We make sure we share lessons learned, and it really is a collaborative approach.
I think when I joined Dennis Eagle, we were Euro 2 emissions specification for chassis, and our body product and the bin lift product were very simple. They certainly weren't as complex as they are today. So over the years, we've had to improve as a business. Our procedures, our processes, the way we communicate and train, the shop floors had to improve. If you look at the latest generation of chassis, they're going to be GSR2 with anti-drowsiness interlocks and all sorts of new fandangled technology that you'd expect to see on top of the range cars. So that all adds complexity to the business, and the level of complexity increase over the years has been incredible. Duncan has been probably the longest of any serving person around the table, and he's seen it. He's one of his responsibilities is the PDI department, and they've had to upskill again and again and again in terms of being able to keep up with the demands of technology and legislation, because it's normally driven by legislation.
So from your perspective then, Duncan, how does that sort of impact from your department?
Yeah, we have a lot of, with compliance comes conformity of production. So we have to ensure that our products are products consistency through the range, and we have to do regular checks which go to the governing body, a company called RDW, who do our checks and ensure that we're following the compliance. We've also got VECTO, which we have to comply by, so we have to do checks for emissions, which is a European regulation, so we have to ensure that. We also do all the tool calibration as well, so as well as our fitters using the tools, we have to make sure those tools are fully calibrated to the correct standard, so we comply with the legislation on calibration as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite critical to the whole process that we follow.
Yeah.
And then into PDI, there's a lot of checks done in PDI, as well as we've got our own tachograph centre, so we calibrate the vehicles on site, and we're the only company in the UK, manufacturing company, that are allowed to tachograph their own vehicles only, which is quite unique. We also brake test. It's based on our standards, yeah.
Okay.
We've got a brake test facility, so we brake test every vehicle, road test every vehicle as well. So we follow a full strict process on every vehicle. The other thing we have to comply with or contend with is subcontractors. So we have a lot of external contractors working on the vehicle after production have finished with the vehicle, after PDI have finished.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a challenge in itself as well, because they're tapping into our systems. So we have to ensure that we're checking those as well afterwards.
I was going to say, yeah, how does that work? So yeah, you have to then go back and then recheck everything.
So we do a secondary check at the very end,
okay.
And that takes into account the shortages that we have, making sure that they're fitted,
yeah,
and then checking all the contractors as well.
So there's quite a lot that goes into that, isn't there?
Quite a lot of challenges, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, actually. It's interesting to hear.
If I could jump in there,
Yeah.
For all of these guys to do their job, what they require is clear information.
Yeah.
They need to know exactly what the customer wants and when they want it. And that's kind of where my team sit in the business.
Yeah.
So we sit between the sales team, who are bringing in the customer information and when they want it. Then there's a lot of turbulence at that end of the business. Everybody wants their vehicle as soon as possible, of course.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is to try and remove that turbulence to turn it into a consistent flow of products through the business. And consistency really gives these guys a chance to produce a constant product of the right quality. But on top of that, we also have to provide the right information. We have to make sure that what is a subcontract activity is specified as a subcontract activity, what's made in-house is specified, and it needs to be right first time and delivered early. And that's the sort of the data science element of my aspect. And that's all come about through an investment in configuration software, which links the customer specification from the sales team to the engineering requirements and the bills and materials that need to be made, through to the PDI requirements and the certification documents that go through. Yeah. So by bringing everything in together, it really helps to make sure that everybody can do their job to the best possible ability.
Yeah, that's great.
We also tax and register the vehicles on site.
Okay.
Before they get lead to go to customers. We've got our own delivery driver team that deliver the vehicles all around the country to our customers. And we also have a lot of customers visit the factory. We're all proud of what we make, and we're proud of our factory as well. So showing customers around is something that I get heavily involved in. Yeah. And it's showing what we're proud of.
That's it. And I think, again, it's nice for people to be able to see how all the cogs turn and, the cycle.
I think the pride aspect is huge. I mean, one thing that really sort of impacted me when I was looking at Dennis Eagle before I was fortunate to join is that the longevity of people that have been with the business. From a Blackpool perspective this year, I've seen 4 people retire that have had 30 to 40 years experience, and that's incredible. So they enjoy what they do, they enjoy what they're building, but it's also a reflection of the business as a whole. Yeah. And the building of the vehicles, I mean, the number one reason why these vehicles get completed is the people. And we do have people here with decades of experience, and they do come to the time when it's time to retire and to move on. So we do heavily invest in apprenticeships, training and development, like the Learning at Work Week and things like that. They're all had in. We've got 5 apprentices up at Blackpool. I know Tony's introduced some more apprentices down at Warwick, and they're the future of building. And we know in our areas that the availability of good, fully trained welders and painters and assemblers is quite difficult. So the way to ensure that we don't have that staffing shortages in the future is to make sure we invest in the apprentices and to train within and to grow. And the software side of things, the planning side, like the production engineering as well. Mark's team are looking at a lot with the PMS system. How can we make that system more functional for the guys on the shop floor? Can we have the key sheets on there? Can we have drawings that they can explode on the screen to see how things exactly go? So there's lots going on in the background whilst we still complete and finish vehicles to ensure that we develop.
Kind of almost automation, but with a human touch,
Yes.
isn't it? We're trying to take the mundane out of people's jobs. It makes their jobs more interesting, and of course, automation brings consistency again, removes mistakes, but it elevates people up to do things that are more interesting, and it retains the staff then.
Yeah.
I think on the apprentice side as well, if you look at a lot of people in the business who have moved up in the business were originally apprentices at Dennis Eagle. I'm one of those. So 35 years ago.
Apprentice number one, weren't you, Duncan?
We've got a director who was an apprentice through all different areas of the business, and that shows the investment that we want to invest in those people. So when new apprentices start, it's quite critical we go through those processes with them and explain what they can achieve if they want to, and the investment, that means a lot to them.
Yeah, the apprentices are highly regarded as well. They're often, because we do a system where they see all aspects of the business, they go around the shop floor, they build the vehicles, they go into the different staff areas. So they've usually got a very broad and well-rounded view of the industry. So yeah, they're usually very capable.
Knowledgeable. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the apprentices started, I joined as an apprentice, wanted to be a welder, and I'm doing a completely different role now.
Yeah.
And the other apprentices are very similar. But because you're allowed to go around all the business and touch every part of the business, gives you those opportunities to change your career path.
Yeah.
And we still need welders if you fancy a change.
I have to say, I'm sitting here like a proud dad listening to my team. It's incredible. Yeah, and I think it reflects the dedication, the commitment they're showing today, and what they're saying is reflected in the facility and in the product. I really do believe that. Yeah, there's a part of us in every product that we deliver to our customer. So, and yeah, I'm just very proud. So well done, everyone.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. It's been really great to hear about all the different parts of how everything comes together, and interesting as well. As for myself, because I joined the company only 8 months ago, and I'm still kind of getting to understand all as well the mechanics behind everything and how everything works. So it's again interesting for me to kind of bring you guys all together and have a good conversation about each part of the department and how it works. So thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.